The main reason that we're here today is to introduce our new Helios S3 PCI-e box U2 sled solution. It's a Thunderbolt 3 PCI-e box. It's very similar if anyone ever used the old Helios. Of course, it's a lot different. It's Thunderbolt 3, and it's got this special sled system that Dane is going to introduce. Dane, by the way, does not work for OWC. Dane is a production technologist. He works in Hollywood. He has worked pretty much everything from Netflix, blockbuster movies to commercials. The Helios S3 was actually created with some help from Dane and some other people in the industry, mostly Dane, letting us know what we needed, how it needed to work. Just for example, there's a lock on the back, which, okay, we didn't know that it needed a lock, but apparently the studios all need something that locks. So Dane let us know that it had to lock.
I'll tell you the version 2, and you're going to say it right out the gate, and I know what you're thinking right now. Why we put all the cables and the actual drive on the same exact side, right? Because it's going to be a mess. So maybe next one, we'll do it on this side. So I love any feedback that you guys have about any of this. Please tell me or Richard. But my point was, taking NVMe, I could suddenly have all the speed of a RAID and have a work drive that I could work with in a small. Now this one's called U.2, which is the newest one. There's M.2, which is a smaller one. The whole point of that is working through the human processing system, right? You gotta move your files. Data is us. We are the data that we're moving around, whatever it may be, even if it's client or not. And so having something fast. Now you only kind of need to transport this piece. And then you could have a few of these sleds. So what we're doing in production is we're putting this with our post-production, either our laboratory, our editor, our music video, our colorist, all the different people who are going to be a part of that chain, and we're going to continue to work with. And we give this to them. We say, put this wherever you like it, all right? Whatever is easier for you. And then now we just transport the important part, the drive. I could have this on my DIT card on set that we're offloading all of our files to, have our editor have one, our colorist, and anyone in visual effects or post-production, and everyone can operate essentially off the same speed factor. Now our editor maybe wants some higher quality, HDR, I don't know if anyone's doing that. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to be able to transport stuff from one thing to the next to the other. And you're not like, oh, hey, do you got a drive? No, let's use your drive. How about we use yours? No, let's get the client to buy us a drive. Or hey, even worse, I need a big RAID. But the point of this is to be local storage. It's just something that you're exchanging. So that's why we called it the U.2 interchange system. It's the human interchange system. It's going from one person to the next to the other. So you can have a nice stream workflow. You can operate at Thunderbolt 3 if you have a Thunderbolt 2 system, whatever it may be. We basically gave the people the ability to buy this. So maybe you want to do some graphics, all right? You're graphics intensive, you got a Mac Pro, a Mac Mini, something like that. You want to put a graphics card in here. You want to rock out, that's your deal, you're in Resolve, boom. Okay, but now you're going to transition over to maybe Premiere or something where you need to have something you can exchange or move between maybe the assistant editor and the editor or visual effects. And so now you have the ability to put this modular system into this Helios S3. So just think of it as it can be many things for you as depending on what your requirements are. And it's built to handle the extra heat that something like this will generate over a normal hard drive. The enterprise versions have batteries built on them. No other hard drives currently have a battery backup system built onto the card. So what that allows you to tell your clients or anything, especially if anyone's working in ProRes in here, is if you lose power suddenly for whatever reason, we live in Los Angeles, and you get a brownout or something. I live in North Hollywood. We get them like at least 4 or 5 times a year during the heat waves especially. And I get knocked out. Obviously, if I have a battery backup, that's the best way to work. But for whatever reason, you're in location, it's a little bit thin on what you have something and guarantee that you're not going to corrupt all of your files when you lose power while you're playing back something or reading a file or editing or whatever it may be. So that's kind of that chief benefit that those two technologies are kind of converging to do. I mean, what I'm doing is I'm operating with like 6 of these. And so now in the past, I would have to buy 6 hard drives, which have 6 fixed ways of working. And if one doesn't work or whatever, you know, you fill it up, that kind of thing. Now I can get 3 of these chassis, for example, and have one with each respective department between us, and then we just share these. So a lot more cost effective, and when you think about, you're putting really the money into the important part, which is the drive. That's ultimately, you want to be able to, as connections become better and better down the line, 5 years from now, you want to be able to take your drive with you, not just be limited to, sorry, here's your fix. Now, sometimes that is the best way to work, and clients demand that, but it does give you an option as a professional. It's all about real time, and that's one of the things that I learned being a DIT and working for someone like Jim Cameron is it's all about real time. It's about having that instinct and being able to work and trying not to get that lag time, that latency that sometimes gets bogged down by some of the technology. He has built a multi-billion-dollar system around him that is all about real time. And so it's one of those things that I've kind of learned and try to apply to what we're doing on set, but apply it to everybody, not just like the biggest movie in the world. Like, you know, I don't work on shows rarely on stuff like that. This is the OWC Dock Pro. What this allows you to do is have a 10 gig connection. So now, if you're working with a NAS or some kind of shared storage, and you don't want to kind of fill up your Thunderbolt bandwidth, you can use your 10 gig or 1 gig if you're using a Nexus or something to kind of add additional ports to your laptop or Mac Mini or whatever. And the reason why we went to a 6-pin as opposed to the traditional single solo wall wart is, 1, it's grounded, so it means your system will last a lot longer, and 2 is you can cut that wall wart, which is the power supply, and you can make your own battery-powered 12-volt system, which is what some of the carts that we're using requires us to do, because we're in like Hawaii in the mud or up on a mountain in Canada. I really like it because of this little Alexa Mini CFast, if you're a photographer or a DP or someone that's using the CFast medium a lot, having something that's built in gives you a lot more bandwidth.
Some of our other stuff, the Aura Pro X2 SSD, it's about twice as fast as the drive that you currently have inside your MacBook Pro. It's an easy kit. We have instructions, videos on how to swap the whole thing out. You get up to 3,200 megabytes per second read, 2,400 megabytes per second write. It also comes with this little enclosure down on the bottom here, so you can take out the drive from your MacBook Pro, put it in there, put the new drive in, and then you can copy everything over that way.
I still have 2012 cheese graters, and I had totally written them off. They're like not going to use anything, and then once I put that back in there, suddenly they're like the best computers again. So, you know, giving those to like my niece to be able to like do her little art projects was more like, you know, interesting to me, and allowed that system to be then kind of rectified again. Not all computers, not all systems are going to have the same performance using the same files. For example, you're gonna have different performance using ProRes than you do using ARRI RAW. You actually might have more performance using with more data because you're using an image sequence as opposed to a clip-based system. And then you have something like MP, you know, like H.265. I don't know if anyone's using that. That's another system that requires your computer to work a little bit harder to undo that to get there. So no one likes choppiness. No one likes to be interrupted while they're trying to show someone something, especially nowadays. So I think that can be very beneficial to you without needing to have a giant RAID system. I need to spend 20 grand or 10 grand to get me to that performance level.
On that note, if you are going to spend 20 grand for that new Mac Pro, we do have some upgrades for it. So instead of spending 20 grand, you might only spend 16 grand for that same computer.
I upgraded mine from an 8-core to a 24-core, did it all myself in an afternoon, like literally a couple hours. And I just bought all that stuff from OWC, RAM, all that fun stuff too. And the Excelsior card is really amazing for any of those pros out there who need a little bit more space.
We're going to wrap it up because I know we got other things coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.